Alright, people, it is your boy, King Tynex here, back with another video. And the shoe, like, some of these videos aren't doing as well as they used to do, as they used to be, as they used to do. Also, like, I just want to clarify one thing. Like, yeah, I screwed up in the last video when it came on to, on to Deku being a Red Hood. Yeah, Deku did defeat, what was his name? Yeah, Deku did defeat Stain, but I don't think I ever mentioned that he was arrested or anything. But anyways, this isn't the focus of the video. This video is going to be about Deku's reincarnation of Kaido. Part 4, I believe. Yeah, part 4. And I've been reading these comments as well. Like, yeah, Deku is very tall here. Basically, here's what happens. As soon as the villains pop out, Aizawa literally just tells all the kids to stay back because he's the only one at first to realize how, oh snap, these are real villains. Once the rest of the kids realize this, they all start to freak out a little. For the ones who didn't freak out, mainly being Bakugo, Todoroki, Izuku, basically like the more powerful members of Class 1A. They were the ones that didn't necessarily freak out, but they ended up not listening to what Aizawa told them to do, being to stay back, of course. Instead, they actually ran forward and actually tried to attack a couple of the villains. They were actually pretty successful in taking down some of the villains. Azawa was pretty frustrated at first, but after realizing that, well, these kids were actually able to take down a couple of these villains pretty well, he was like, you know what? I'm gonna punish them later, but for now, I'm gonna let them be. Especially Izuku, because Izuku was just a beast in general. Izuku was literally taking out tens of villains at once, essentially. Like, for every one villain that Bakugo, Todoroki, Kirishima, all those guys were able to defeat, well, Izuku was taking down like 10 of them, essentially, all at once. These villains, they actually got a bit scared of Izuku because they were wondering, okay, this kid is very strong. Actually, no, I don't even think this is a kid. This is probably one of these other teachers of UA that we probably haven't ever heard of before. I mean, it happens. Maybe like it's just a new recruit or something. But of course, these villains are a bit wary of Izuku, and on top of that, the fact that they don't even have the ability to use their quirks right now, that's what makes it even worse. But the same thing happens with Kirigiri here. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I always pronounce his name wrong. The students who end up going with who is their name again? With 13. The same thing pretty much happens in canon where 13's quirk backfires on her. And these kids are essentially sent to all these different places in the USJ. I'm going to say that they're basically the same place as in canon. And when it came on to Izuku fighting the other villains as well, he was actually able to, well, stand his ground until Kirigiri realized that, okay, this kid is too strong. I'm just going to send him to like the waterfall zone or something. So I'm just going to say that, well, Kirigiri just opened up a portal underneath Izuku. This sent Izuku all the way to the Flood Zone. I believe that's the name of it. Basically, where Suyu was in canon. I'm not sure if I expelled Mineta in this timeline or not. I have a feeling I did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did actually. Shoot. And even if I didn't, well, guess what? He's expelled now. Anyway, so when Izuku realizes how bad of a situation he's in, he actually manifests his dragon form here. As soon as Suyu sees this, though, her eyes just pop out of her head. It also goes for the other villains out there as well. The ones that are in the flood zone. You know, the one with the boat. Their eyes literally just pop out of their heads because Izuku just turned into a dragon. The only hero that they knew of who could turn into a dragon was Ryukyu. And even then, like, her dragon form wasn't nearly as intimidating as Izuku's own. She was able to turn into like a western dragon. Izuku was able to turn into an eastern dragon. And Izuku's dragon form is just so much larger than Ryuku's own. Izuku ended up breathing like sort of plasma or something. Yeah, because that's confused. That's a bit of a confusing power that Kaido has, honestly. Not confusing, but I just always forget the name of it. Anyways, Izuku just releases an energy mouth blast at these guys, which is enough to actually make the water boil. These guys, once they feel this boiling water, they immediately try and get out. Of course, Izuku actually lets them this time around because, well, he doesn't find them to be too much of a threat. He looks over and finds Suyu, who is just looking at him in fear because Izuku just turned into a giant baby blue dragon. Of course, anybody would be scared in this moment. Don't lie, you would be scared too. Okay. So when it came on to what happened afterwards, once Izuku saw Suyu, he transformed back into his human state. It took a little bit, but he managed to get the hang of it. He managed to actually turn back into his human form and comfort her. And trying to tell her that, well, she doesn't need to be scared of him. And then that was just another part of his quirk, essentially. A little white lie, but no harm done. They swim back to like the surface, not the surface, but let's just say they managed to swim back to like the plaza. What happened after? Oh, Shigaraki, he actually catches wind of, well, both Izuku and Suyu. Okay. Shigaraki also realizes that, well, Izuku is more of a threat here than anybody else, essentially, because this guy was taking out like tens of villains already. And apparently he can turn into a giant dragon. That's kind of hard to miss. What does he do here? He, of course, leaps at Izuku with his hand stretched out. He had full intent to basically decay Izuku, like just basically end Izuku here. Shigaraki was very close as well here. If it wasn't for Aizawa, Izuku would have at least suffered some serious injuries. Because as soon as Izuku sees that, well, Shigaraki has his hand on his face, Izuku removes it and actually crushes Shigaraki's arm in his hand. Shigaraki screams in pain and calls out for the Nomu. The Nomu actually goes in and sucker punches Izuku. Izuku is drawn back from that punch because I'm not making him too overpowered. Who am I kidding? I'm making this an overpowered story. When Izuku was thrown back, he actually hits the wall. He actually groans a little because that's one of the first times he's ever really felt pain, to be honest. But Izuku gets back up. Shigaraki is actually impressed with Izuku, although he's grabbing his arm in pain. He's amazed that Izuku was able to actually survive that hit from the Nomu. He explains that the Nomu was specifically engineered to fight All Might, more specifically to end the symbol of peace. Izuku states that the symbol of peace will never die, though, and the symbol of peace will continue to live on in other people. Now, Shigaraki just growls here and this and tells Nomu to just end Izuku here. The Nomu actually goes in and tries to attack Izuku again. Izuku actually blocks an attack from the Nomu, but he grunts in pain from the punch. And it felt like a freight train just hit him, honestly. But Izuku punches the Nomu in its chest. The Nomu looks unfazed though. That's what really surprises Izuku. Shigaraki just laughs at Izuku's surprised face because Izuku was not expecting the Nomu to just tank the punch like that. Nobody's ever been able to tank a punch from Izuku like that. Shigaraki states like all of the different quirks that the Nomu has. He has like high tier regeneration. He has shock absorption. All of that, honestly. Shigaraki also mentions that Izuku's life is just going to end here. He has no chance. He has absolutely no chance against his Nomu. Izuku just looks at Shigaraki, smiles a little bit, and says, "You want to bet?" Izuku, now knowing what quirks the Nomu has, actually, rather than doing something All Might would do, no, oh no, he actually transforms into his dragon state. Although turning into his dragon state rapidly, more like you can't just do it like an on and off switch essentially, and not suffer any consequences. It's actually very draining, honestly. But Izuku pushes on, and what ends up happening is that Izuku actually, I don't know how to say, he launches another plasma blast at the Nomu. This time, the Nomu actually dodges it, but just barely. Although, one of its arms was essentially taken out in the process. And here's the thing about it as well. He cannot regenerate from this because his cells have been burned off essentially from that blast. Like, I forgot the word, but you guys will probably know what I'm trying to say here. When Shigaraki sees this, he kind of flips because the Nomu isn't regenerating. He's wondering what is his deal. Does he have like some sort of dragon quirk or something? And he's somehow able to breathe fire as well. That's a bit powerful. That's a bit too powerful for a quirk, to be honest. But he doubts that Izuku will be able to really defeat the Nomu here. Izuku goes in and He tries to attack the Nomu again, but the thing about his dragon form is that he is not as swift as he is in his regular form. He can't just move like normal in this form. It's actually very difficult to move in this form. When it came on to the Nomu didn't have that disadvantage here. The Nomu was actually able to attack Izuku quite easily, even if it was only with his one arm, because, well, Izuku did obliterate his other arm. Uh, but here's the thing about the dragon form as well. It's actually much more durable than his regular form as well, though. So, you guys didn't see that. But anyways, that's a little surprise for later. But like I said before, the Nomu may be able to give Izuku a lot more relentless attacks here, but Izuku was able to just tank more punches here as well. So it's almost as if things didn't change that much. The Nomu was still at a disadvantage, especially with the fact that he only had one arm here. Whenever Izuku managed to land an attack, which was usually his mouth blasts, the Nomu really felt that. Izuku was able to actually take out the Nomu's other arm here as well, leaving the Nomu with only its feet. Shigaraki actually starts to freak out here because this wasn't how things were supposed to go. The Nomu was supposed to fight All Might, and All Might was supposed to die here. All Might wasn't even here yet. That's what made Shigaraki even more angry, more frustrated, because the Nomu wasn't even fighting All Might. It was fighting some no-name hero or some student. He didn't really know who this guy was, to be honest. Izuku transformed back into his human form, and he's actually panting for energy here. He's actually quite exhausted, but he tries to push on and he fights the Nomu for a bit longer until All Might appears. Izuku had landed quite a few hits on the Nomu, especially with the fact that the Nomu couldn't really attack Izuku here besides maybe using its legs. But Izuku was able to do the same thing and more. Izuku was able to put in like twice the amount that the Nomu could do. Izuku was very close to actually finishing off the Nomu here, but when All Might appeared, it was like, oh, thank the heavens, because Izuku felt like he was about to drop here. His legs were feeling pretty wobbly. It was only the adrenaline in him that was keeping him going at this point. Once he found that All Might was here, thanks to Ida and the rest of the hero teachers, Izuku fell back essentially, and he actually passed out here. When Izuku woke up, he was in the UA hospital or facility or something, being treated by Recovery Girl. Izuku didn't sustain any visible injuries, and so that's why they just had him stay in Recovery Girl's office for the time being, trying to see if he could recover his stamina. How long is this? Let's see how long we can make this, honestly. I'm going to say that when it comes on to the sports festival, what the heck? Why? Why, Nexus? Why? Nah, screw this. Alright, I'm back. Okay, Nexus signing. He's going a bit crazy. This guy's really paraded. Anyways, back to the video. So I ended it last time I mentioned that Izuku was in Recovery Girl's office because he didn't really sustain that many. He didn't really sustain any visible injuries. It just seemed that he collapsed out of nowhere. So they were just guessing that he was probably drained of energy from finding Nomu, according to the students' account. According to the student accounts, essentially, the students were talking about how well Azuku was able to fend off the Nomu, essentially. Of course, All Might was able to finish the job, though. And when the teachers heard about this, they were extremely impressed with Azuku because something that was genetically engineered to kill All Might, a student was able to actually fight off. He was actually able to cause a great amount of damage to the Nomu. That's what surprised the teachers the most. Well, besides the whole thing with the Nomu as well, they were also pretty surprised about that. But they actually complimented Izuku for his bravery here. When it came on to UA Sports Festival, Izuku Izuku was just training more in his dragon mode so that he could actually, I don't know, but you guys know what I mean. Basically, trying to get a better grip of his dragon form, trying to become more swift in it, essentially. Yeah, trying to basically improve his mobility in that form. Because when he was fighting Nomu, he realized just how bad he was when it came on to using that form. Later on, of course, like a week would pass by, a week or so, and that's when the UA Sports Festival would happen. Of course, the same thing happens in canon with Class 1B, Shinso, all of that. And I'm not even going to say that All Might actually try to talk to Izuku here. Because, well, he doesn't really have much we need to talk to Izuku besides praising him for his efforts against the Nomu. When it came on to the UA Sports Festival, if I can recall correctly, Bakugo didn't win number one in the entrance exam, so he wouldn't be the one making the speech here. It would be Izuku. Izuku, when it came on to his speech, he just said that, well, I just want everybody to have a good time here at the sports festival, and that he wasn't going to go easy on anybody here. He wanted everybody to do their best, put in their best efforts, all of that. When everybody heard this, they approved of Izuku's message. Some of those who were in like some other classes, they were still a bit jealous because Class 1A was one that was getting most of the attention, but they accepted Izuku's speech at the very least. They didn't make an uproar about it like in canon with Bakugo's speech. When it came to the obstacle course, Izuku was able to basically just plow through these robots. Todoroki tried to use the ice trick on the people, but even if Izuku got trapped in the ice, he wasn't really trapped because he would just break through it pretty easily. He was just a raging juggernaut throughout the whole obstacle course. He was able to just destroy these robots like they were, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but basically, just imagine, like some pretzels or something. He was basically able to just snap them in half as if they were twigs. When it came on to the tightrope, Zuko just groaned because he didn't really feel like going into his dragon form, especially when it came on to the drawbacks to using it. So Izuku just did the same. No, he actually jumped. He actually jumped here. I'm going to say that Izuku jumped because he has very strong legs. He knows how to jump good. He's like Samurai Jack in that instance. Hey. But Izuku still manages to actually make it to the minefield. If Izuku didn't make the land, he would have actually gone to his dragon form here. When it came onto the minefield, Izuku didn't even bother to really try and formulate a plan. He just stepped on one of the mines, and sure, they may have exploded, but they weren't enough to actually throw Izuku back. So Izuku just charged in. The teachers were just losing their minds because Izuku was just showing absolutely no struggle throughout this whole obstacle course. Todoroki tried to keep up with Izuku, but Izuku was just too much for him to keep up with. So Izuku ended up winning first place in the obstacle course. Izuku got the 10 million point headband, and when it came on to the Cavalry battle, that no, not even in the Cavalry battle, Izuku actually goes into his dragon form because of the mobility problem. So instead, he opts for just having Uraraka be the horse. Well, the head here because I think you guys can understand why Izuku is like over 6 feet tall. Is over 6 feet tall here. Is basically as muscular as the Rock here, the Rock Johnson. No, not the Rock Johnson. Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, and it's probably like over a good. It's over a good amount of weight for these guys to even lift. So that's why he decides to have Uraraka be the head here. Tokuyami and Tatsume, they still end up being part of the horse here. But Izuku is the one that's keeping them up, is putting in like the most support in keeping them up, essentially. Due to just how strong Izuku is here. Izuku can't really do much here besides, well, no, he really cannot do much. Uraraka is just floating, but I'm going to say that most of the teams are kind of not gunning for Izuku's team here due to seeing what Izuku was able to do in the beginning of the sports festival, just charging in, breaking through these robots like they were butter essentially. They decided to not mess with the team for now and go for other teams. But when the halfway mark passes, other teams are starting to go for Izuku's team here. Izuku was swift on his feet though, and is actually able to make sure that his team is able to evade the other teams. It's only at the last minute when Todoroki's team arrives and they try and get the 10 million points. That's when Izuku actually transforms into his dragon state, because he knows that Ida probably has something up his sleeve to actually ensure that Todoroki's team actually gets a 10 million point headband. Izuku decides that he's not going to risk losing his spot here, but he is also not going to just stay in that dragon form for the rest of the time. He realizes that it's like the last minute, and he may as well show them everything that he can do here. And that's the only reason why he decided to go into his dragon form here. If there was any more time, he wouldn't have gone into it. So Izuku transforms into his dragon state, and the rest of his team just rides on him, rides on his back. Don't be thinking negative here. And they're able to actually just fly up and avoid Todoroki's team. Todoroki growls because, well, his team can't make it up that high, but he looks over and sees Bakugo's team gunning for Izuku's team's headband. And Bakugo is able to fly here. That's not going to change because he is Bakugo. I'm not going to nerf Bakugo like that. He is an OG. When it came on to the teachers that didn't know about this and all the heroes, they were especially surprised because Izuku turned into a dragon. Some were even thinking, hold up, is he possibly related to the dragon hero lady? Ryukyu? You guys let me know how to pronounce her name in the comments below. But like the last minute passes and Bakugo, he grits his teeth because he realizes that he was so close, but yet so far at the same time. Sad vibes for Bakugo. Izuku actually goes on to try and recover his strength. Thankfully, this time he only went into his dragon form once this time. So, he still has a bit of energy left. He's not like where he was in the USJ where he was about to collapse. He feeds himself a good amount of food, and one of the oldest students actually offers him a drink. The only thing though is that this was not just any sort of drink. This was alcohol, a very heavy alcohol. Like, I think there was some YouTube video mentioning how like there were different percentages of alcohol out there, and this one basically had a 15% had like 15% amount of alcohol in it. So basically, they were trying to sabotage Izuku here because Toshi Shinso realized that he would be going up against Izuku here, and he wasn't all that confident here that his brainwash would work. If Izuku didn't respond to him, then he was just dead meat essentially. So Shinso basically paid this guy to give him some alcohol because this kid was already like disqualified. So that happens. Izuku actually takes up the drink because it's like a short little third year essentially. And that's why they were even able to get the drink in the first place. I'm going to say that 18 is like the legal drinking age in Japan, at least in this universe. When they bring the alcohol to Izuku gratefully takes it because he was a bit thirsty. He drank the whole bottle, guys. The third year just looks at Izuku in shock because Izuku just drank like a whole bottle of like a very heavy alcohol, something that was almost illegal. Actually, it was illegal in America. Actually, Izuku starts to feel a bit tipsy, but when the teachers no, not the teachers, but when President Mike calls Izuku to go against Shinso, Zuko does so, but he's he's a bit unbalanced here. He is very drunk here. Shinso sees Zuko is very drunk and he smiles, thinking that okay, yeah, my chances of winning here much higher than before. He wasn't planning for Izuku to actually go and be something like Kaido here when it comes to him being drunk. Izuku actually starts to sob. Yeah, like this is going to be the sad drunk Kaido Izuku. I had to add this somewhere. So Izuku, he isn't responding to anything that Shinso says because he's too busy crying. He can't even hear what Shinso is saying, which greatly aggravates Shinso because he can't use his quirk on Izuku. He tries to run at Izuku and try and push him off the stage in a desperate attempt at winning because he knew that the next option was a sort of arm wrestling contest. And he knew that he had like a 0% chance of winning an arm wrestling contest against this freak of nature. So he just went for something that had a very low percent chance of winning, but at least it was higher than 0. He tries to push Zuko off the stage, but Azuku just swats him away. Yeah, Shinso just gets embarrassed here. And that's how I'm going to end it for now. The teachers are really looking at Azuku here. Not just the teachers, but all the heroes that are here right now. They're really looking at Azuku in amazement. They are really surprised and very interested in Azuku. That's how I'm going to end it for now. By the way, join my Discord. I'm going to leave the link in the description. You guys can suggest what ifs for me and like the other Heavenly Sages to do. Also, I'm sorry for the disrespect. YT James BTW. I do plan on doing that Deadshot Deku what if soon. I just need to get done with a couple what ifs first. Alright? Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. King Titan X out.